All right, all you econ people. So the screen you see behind me here isn't a question time screen. That's because I don't have any questions currently from anybody in economics. But I suppose we're sort of kind of in a problem set phase right now. We're done reading the chapter. Weren't as many questions from the chapter as I thought there might be, but hey, that's all right. I figure in this format here, meaning using a smartboard, one of the things I might be able to do to be productive for you is to go over the answer that I was looking for in the sort of replacement problem set that you've been working on for me for the last couple days. Specifically question number 3 about how does what's going on in the news today get reflected in an aggregate supply and aggregate demand curve. Well, what I'm hoping to get from you as I start to go through the grading of these things through your emails is that there's actually 2 parts to this basic graph problem that we have. The first part is the aggregate supply part, which has already been underway ever since the China part of this whole thing. Maybe you might remember me telling you about this friend of mine who has a business where they can't get what they need to put on the events that they put on because, the stuff comes from China, and so they have had a hard time getting supplies. Well, that's going to be a leftward shift in aggregate supply. So we relabel the original aggregate supply 1, we label the shift aggregate supply 2, we get ourselves our new equilibrium point. We'll call that E2 as opposed to E1. And so, that's what had been happening before this American phase of the whole thing. But now we have an American phase as well. And as things start to slowly scale back, you've got, first of all, people were told, why don't you avoid going to things with a lot of people? Then it's things with a lot of people can't be held anymore. Then it's make sure you're washing your hands and doing everything carefully when you go out to eat. And now it's you don't go out to eat for a while. All these things here are being a shift in aggregate demand as well. And so now we have to relabel our aggregate demand 1 or AD1, and our shift is now AD2. It's not AP2, I promise, it's AD2. And that gives us a third equilibrium point here that goes like so. So you see that there's maybe a silver lining in some of the bad news. Once you have a decline in aggregate supply followed by an aggregate demand, that's the way I meant to move my finger, you do have downward pressure on prices. So, okay, there's that good part of it, I guess. But essentially, the other thing that you get is this double whammy, this double decrease in your real GDP. This is the part here that we've been talking about that people are worried about as far as recessions go. To give you a quick update on yesterday's question time that came from Grace's question, I did see what I would call a reputable economics source saying that some of the estimates from economists about how much we're dropping could be that by the end of next quarter, we could see a 5% drop. That's pretty significant. It doesn't mean that if this thing is short enough that can't be bounced back from in a 3-month period, meaning the following quarter. So who knows? But that's a fairly big number. This double dip backwards in our real GDP is the scary part of this whole thing. And this graph here isn't based on any actual data. Who knows really how far the aggregate supply curve has shifted? Who knows how far the aggregate demand curve has shifted? I'm just shifting curves like we do in textbooks, but you can see the damage done to the economy happening right here. So this is the kind of diagram that I was hoping to see. As I start going through the grading of these things tonight, I'll see what I got from you. That'll have to be today's installment of economics for you.